And also, very unfortunately, at the time that I was recording this, she had the welcome wagon turn up, and then as soon as she drowns, we got this pop-up saying, maybe next time. For her, there won't be a next time. Hi, hey, hello, my name is Sarah and welcome to another Sims video where we explore death in the Sims franchise. And today we're getting started with the mammoth venture that is The Sims 4. If I were to include all of them up to this point in one video, we'd be here for like 3 hours and I just don't think the Grim Reaper can handle that today. So with that being said, we're going to be looking at all the deaths that can be achieved in The Sims 4 base game. I'm going to share with you how to achieve them as well. So with that being said, let's mobilize our hand of death and let's look at all the deaths that can be achieved in the Sims 4 base game. We begin with a classic favorite. Death by hunger or death by starvation is probably one of the easiest deaths to achieve in The Sims 4 total. Not just The Sims 4 base game, but The Sims 4 as a whole. And in The Sims 4, it's as simple as letting your sim inside the house, locking the doors for everyone so that they can't escape, deleting the fridge, the stove, microwave, any appliances you have in your house where your sims can cook food, and waiting for our sim's hunger bar to turn red. So when our sim first starts to feel the pangs of hunger, we can see that her hunger bar has changed to an orangey red color. We can see the little knife and fork symbol there, letting us know that our sim is feeling hungry. And taking a look at our sim's moodlets, our sim now has the hungry moodlet, which is making our sim feel uncomfortable. The moodlet says hungry from low hunger. Our sim is hungry. Eat some food before the hunger gets worse. This moodlet will last for 24 hours before the next moodlet takes its place. So after that moodlet expires 24 hours and our sim still hasn't eaten any food, our sim's hunger bar over in her needs is now a very intense red. We still have the knife and fork symbol. And the hungry moodlet has been replaced with the ravenous moodlet, which is making our sim feel very uncomfortable. So the ravenous moodlet says ravenous from low hunger. Our sim needs food now. Starve to death in 24 hours. So just like in The Sims 2 and in The Sims 3, The Sims 4 gives us plenty of time to change our minds if this is the course of action we're taking, or if you've accidentally neglected your sim's hunger need, you have plenty of time to fix it before the sim will actually pass away from hunger or starvation, whichever you would like to call it. But alas, after another 24 hours of our sim not eating, it's too late to change our mind. We got this notification from the game saying our sim is dying from starvation, and here we see Grim very briefly. If you would like to see more of The Sims 4 Grim Reaper, at this point it kind of feels like we're besties, Grim and I do have a video looking at all of the different Grim Reapers across the Sims franchise, starting from The Sims 1 all the way through to The Sims 4 and comparing them. I will leave it in the pinned comment down below. Another classic favorite, drowning, makes a big splash in The Sims 4. Unfortunately though, like in The Sims 3, our Sims are smarter in The Sims 4, so we can't do the classic delete the pool ladder because our Sims are clever enough to just climb out of the pool. So like in The Sims 3, we actually have to block the sides of the pool once our Sim has started swimming so that they won't get out of the pool. To do this, we can actually build walls on the edge of the pool in The Sims 4, and now in the base game, we have this amazing wallpaper that's like floor to ceiling glass, and it just looks like glass windows that you can paint on your walls that kind of make this look like a Sim-sized fish tank. And now that our sim is trapped in her sim-sized fish tank, we are of course waiting for her energy need to drop so low that she physically cannot swim anymore. So after swimming for a while, our sim will start to receive multiple moodlets making her uncomfortable that are letting us know that she's been swimming for a while and that she would like to stop. So firstly, our sim will gain the fatigued moodlet from working out. It lasts for 4 hours and says it's good to take a break to let those sore muscles rest. It's not the only moodlet that we're going to experience from working out, but importantly, the fatigued moodlet and the sore muscles moodlet that will develop into are not actually important to having our sim pass away by drowning. We really are just waiting for our sim's energy levels to drop so low, so we're looking for those energy moodlets that are going to come as she keeps on swimming. So when our sim starts to feel a little bit low energy, we see the same orangey red color in her energy bar. We'll see the little bed symbol letting us know that she is starting to feel tired. And the first energy related moodlet that we'll see for our sim is the tired from low energy moodlet, which will make our sim uncomfortable. This moodlet says our sim is tired and will need to rest soon, becomes exhausted in 3 hours. So unfortunately, our sim is going to have to spend another 3 hours swimming in her sim-sized fish tank. And after that 3 hours passes, we'll see the energy bar is now that same intense red that we saw before. We still have the bed symbol there. And the moodlet has now progressed to being exhausted from low energy, which says this level of sleep deprivation will make any sim miserable. Pass out in 3 hours. So unfortunately for our sim, no matter how much she looks pleadingly and starts to struggle to swim, there is no escape for her from the sim-sized fishbowl. And after another 3 hours, she succumbs to the eternal rest. You know, it's really kind of eerie how her body just falls to the bottom of the pool. And also, very unfortunately, at the time that I was recording this, she had the welcome wagon turn up, and then as soon as she drowns, we got this pop-up saying, maybe next time. For her, there won't be a next time. Of course, we did get the notification to say that our sim was drowning to death, and unfortunately, she did go to sleep with the fishes in her sim-sized fishbowl. One of my favorites across the entire Sims franchise, our Sims are able to die by fire in The Sims 4. I do feel like it's a bit tricky to start a fire, especially in the base game. With other expansion packs, stuff packs, game packs, there are other ways that we can have our sim pass away from fire. In the base game, we don't have that luxury, so the only way that I can actually really think of that's easy is the grilled cheese method. To achieve the grilled cheese method, we need a sim who has 0 cooking skill attempt to make some grilled cheese. Sometimes they cook it with absolutely no issues, but then sometimes it becomes a case of grilled sim. Before we start cooking though, there's a couple of things that we need to check or to change to make this a little bit easier to achieve. To start off with, we need to see if there is a fire prevention system utility panel anywhere on your home. This thing, if you've got it, delete it, because once a fire starts, it's gonna set sprinklers off in your home and put out the fire before our sim is able to pass away, and that's not what we want to achieve this death. The second thing we're gonna need to check on is our stove. If you have a higher quality stove, it's gonna be less likely that this is gonna happen. Not impossible, but less likely. So I would downgrade your high quality stove to the cheapest base game stove, because it is a low quality stove, which means it's going to increase chance of having a fire occur when our sim tries to cook this grilled cheese. Oh boy, oh geez, oh good golly gracious. A few things that we need to address straight away, right? Firstly, we get this message to say a fire has started nearby. Maybe your sim should put it out before it spreads out of control. Nice idea, but she's also on fire, which brings us to the moodlets. So the first moodlet we can see here is fire from nearby fire. Fire, Sims must extinguish fires or flee them. There's no expiry on this moodlet because that moodlet will last as long as there is a fire on the lot. The second moodlet is the more important one for us though. It is I'm on fire from being lit on fire. Oh no, this sim needs to be extinguished and quick. Again, there's no expiry for this moodlet because it will last as long as our sim is on fire, which is actually going to result in her passing away for us. Look, she does not sound anywhere near panicked enough, right? Like the voice acting, there's a little bit of fear, but I was expecting like blood-curdling screams. And then as this progresses, we're gonna see her from looking normal but just on fire to her starting to look a bit charred herself, a little bit burnt herself. Oh, and then when she starts to look like this, we know that it's really not far until she succumbs to the flames. It does look a little bit cinematic in a horribly morbid way, just surrounded by flames. And of course, we were notified that our sim died in a fire. I'm not 100% sure if we can start a fire with the base game from the fireplace. I tried by just starting a fire in the fireplace, having her warm herself on it, and it just sort of didn't really do anything. So I'm not sure if that's actually possible, but the grilled cheese method, as we can see, is most definitely possible. And I don't know about you, but I do not like my grilled cheese burnt. You guys, I have to apologize profusely. When I was originally filming this video in my good old Grim Reaper garb, I completely forgot about electrocution. I don't know if I have like PTSD from struggling to achieve electrocution in The Sims 1, but my brain completely blocked it out when I was writing the script for this video. So here I am now to tell you about electrocution in The Sims 4 base game. And thankfully, in The Sims 4, the hardest thing about achieving this death is waiting for an appliance to break down. Now, I used the TV that we had in this house, but if I were you, I would actually use the cheapest appliances, whether it be TV, stereo, computer, or even like the fridge in the kitchen. I would use the cheapest ones of those because they're not super reliable. They are more likely to break to begin with. So there are two different ways to achieve death by electrocution in The Sims 4 base game. The first way to achieve this death would be ideal for a broken fridge. Now, when our sim has zero handiness skill, and that is like the most important part, they have to have zero handiness skill. When your sim stands in a puddle of water while trying to fix an appliance or an electronic item, they will be electrocuted. So when fridges break down, they actually leak puddles of water all over the floor. So leave your broken fridge for a while, there'll be a pool of water on the floor that your sim can stand in while trying to repair that fridge. But for us in this footage, and the other way to achieve electrocution in The Sims 4 base game is just by having zero handiness skill and having your sim not standing in a puddle of water trying to fix an object. Sometimes your sim is able to fix a broken object even though they have zero handiness skill. So because of this, once your item breaks down, I would then save the game so that if you're trying to achieve this death and your sim does repair the broken object without being shocked, you can then just exit and return to the main menu and reload your game so you don't have to wait for another object to break down over and over again. For us, it was literally the second attempt of trying to have my sim fix this TV that she received her first shock. Oh boy, look at that, would you? That just, oh, you can kind of feel it just by looking and watching that happen to a sim. You can kind of feel it inside you for a second there. So as we can see though, our sim has not passed away. I think it technically is possible for your sim to pass away from the first shock if their needs are low enough, because having your sim be electrocuted will actually drop your sim's needs a little bit. And if your sim's needs are already low, I do believe it is possible for them to pass after the first shock. But that's not what happened here for our sim. So because our sim didn't pass the first time, our sim received the seriously fried moodlet, which makes our sim feel dazed for 3 hours and says, "That was a close call. I really shouldn't mess with electricity for a while." Our sim really wanted to watch TV though and thought the risk would be worth it. If you have your sim try to repair a broken object while they have the seriously fried moodlet, they will be fatally electrocuted. Oh boy, that was a massive shock. Oh, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. But of course we were notified that our sim was dying from electrocution. That clearly was a big shock to the system. Hey, did you know that 53% of you watching right now are not subscribed to my YouTube channel? If you'd like to see some fun Sims 4 gameplay, some Sims 4 Creator Sim videos, build videos, or even some gameplay of The Sims past, then hit the subscribe button down below and join my wonderful little community of Triceratops. But with that being said, let's get back into the video. Death by overexertion is an elderly specific death in the base game. It comes about simply by having our elderly sim do too much, if you know what I mean. If you have your elderly sim do some exercise, they'll receive the moodlet dangerously tired from strenuous activity. Elders don't have the stamina they used to, and at the moment our sim is exhausted. Continuous strenuous activity could be fatal right now. To achieve death by overexertion, we need to push our sim beyond the point of exhaustion within 4 hours of receiving the dangerously tired moodlet. Now, unfortunately, if you have gone the exercise route, our elderly sim will not be able to perform any exercise while they have the dangerously tired moodlet, so they may not be able to work out their body, but they can work out their bed. Having a good old-fashioned woohoo is the ultimate way to achieve death by overexertion for our elderly sims, and they can woohoo as many times as they like or until it's fatal. And something to note as well, you don't have to exercise first and then woohoo, you can just go straight to the woohoo part because woohooing once will also give your elderly sims the dangerously tired moodlet. So for our elderly sim, after doing the exercise with him first, sparks flew 3 times before he just could not go on. The checking of the pulse gets me every time. So we were of course notified that our sim was dying from overexertion, which, you know, I guess you can have too much of a good thing. Hand in hand with overexertion, death from old age is obviously only available for our elderly sims. The one death I am truly happy to see, death by old age, means that our sim got to live their life to the absolute fullest, to the point where they just expire. Hopefully along the way, our elderly sim has achieved their lifetime aspiration, had many fulfilling relationships, earned many lifetime satisfaction points, and even started a family if that was their wish. Having a look at our elderly sim's age bar, we no longer see how many days until aging up, we now see how many days our elderly sim has lived for. The only indication that our elderly sim is getting close to passing away from old age is the green progression in the age bar. With each day that passes, that bar gets a little bit more green until it eventually gets full and starts glowing. Exactly 24 hours after the age bar starts glowing, our elderly sim will take their eternal rest. That one is just really, really sweet. Even if it happens when you're not expecting it, always super sweet. The way that she's like, adios, I'm out of here. And then she pats a little spot on the ground before laying her head down. It's just really, really sweet to me. And even sweeter is the notification that we get for our sim passing away from old age. It says our sim has lived a long life, but her time has finally come. Our sim is dying of old age, and to which I say, rest easy, Peggy. The literal embodiment of killing yourself laughing. Death by hysteria is achieved by having our sim be in a hysterical mood for an extended period of time. This one can happen completely accidentally, and as someone who prides herself on taking really good care of my sims, making sure their needs are good, making sure they're in a happy mood as much as possible, I have experienced this death accidentally so many times. So death by hysteria is one of 3 emotion-related deaths in the Sims 4 base game. And honestly, I kind of feel like the emotion-related deaths are the hardest ones to achieve in the Sims 4 base game, because you have to achieve the desired mood, in this case hysteria, within a certain time limit, because we've got to do a lot of interactions that give us all of these playful moodlets, and those moodlets expire from 2 to 4 hours. So we essentially have to achieve hysteria within a 4 sim hour window, which really is not very long at all with all of the tasks that we have to actually do to achieve the mood to begin with. It's quite tricky. So to help out, I recommend giving your sim the goofball trait, because with the goofball trait, your sim has the opportunity to gain a specific playful moodlet, which is feeling playful from the goofball trait. Goofballs are always feeling a little bit playful, and that moodlet lasts 4 hours and can be essential in actually having your sim go from feeling playful to very playful and even hysterical. And I would also make sure that we have all of our sim's needs as high as possible, because it's going to help keeping our sim feeling as playful for as long as possible. So once our sim's needs are full, we're then going to do some interactions that are going to make our sim feel playful. I recommend starting on the computer. In the web section of the computer, you can have your sim watch funny videos on sim.tv, which will give our sim the hilarious videos moodlet for 4 hours, which says that video was funny. 2. Funny. The next one that I would do was have our sim watch the comedy channel on the TV, because it won't take very long for our sim to gain the hilarious show moodlet. And while they're watching the TV, that moodlet won't expire. It won't have a time limit, but then once your sim stops watching the comedy channel, that moodlet will last for 3 hours. The moodlet says, "This comedy channel is hilarious." So next, I would have your sim perform some funny social interactions with another sim. The quickest ones are telling jokes, so I would just line up a whole lot of jokes, but not too many of the same ones, because if we tell the same joke over and over and over again, it's going to turn into a boring conversation. So tell some jokes, mix in some funny stories, maybe even some mischief if your sim has some mischief skill as well. After some funny social interactions, our sim will get the on a roll moodlet from socialization that says keep the jokes coming and lasts for 4 hours. Also from socializing, our sim may get the funny conversation from socialization moodlet, which says jokes, smiles, and silliness all around and lasts for 3 hours. So you've done all of these things, but those things may not be enough to have your sim be in a hysterical mood yet. In my experience, our sim got to feeling very playful, but was not at hysterical yet. So some other things that I can recommend to have your sim feeling playful, very playful, and then hysterical for us is, before we even start, I would go hunting for some time capsules. If you don't know what I mean by time capsules, check out my collections video that I have on all of the different collections of the Sims 4 base game. You'll find out about time capsules there, what they are, where to find them, all of that stuff. But basically, inside of time capsules, we have what's called a My Sims trophy. They look like a little figurine of a character from the My Sims franchise. Displaying these My Sims trophies in your home, you can click on them and enable the emotional aura, and it just so happens that all of their emotional auras are playful. So I would get a few My Sims trophies, place them in the area that you're going to be attempting this death, enable the emotional aura, and doing so will give our sim the playful decor decor moodlet from their environment, which says a pleasing environment can put a sim in the mood. Now this moodlet does not have any expiry because as long as our sim is in the same area as these My Sims, those trophies will permanently emanate that aura, permanently giving our sim that moodlet while they're in the same area. But unfortunately, even with the My Sims trophies, that still might not be enough to have our sim become hysterical. There are two interactions that we can do in the bathtub. First of all, having our sim take a bubble bath will give our sim the bubbles from the bathtub moodlet, which says there are few things in a sim's life that can't be fixed with bubbles, and that one lasts for 4 hours. I do have to caution though, depending on how low your sim's hygiene need is, it can take way too long for your sim to actually take the bath, which is why I recommend having the hygiene level all the way up completely full before you even attempt this. So then the other bathtub interaction you can only do when your sim is feeling playful to begin with. It's the play in bathtub interaction, which will give our sim the bath time is best time moodlet, which says, oh, you know, just going on aquatic adventures and saving the world, which again will last for 4 hours. But if our sim is still not feeling hysterical, there's still a couple more things that I can recommend, and one of those things can only be achieved when our sim starts feeling playful. Our sim with level 3 of cooking skill can cook the silly gummy bear pancakes. I would recommend making a serving of 8 so that our sim can just easily eat them if the moodlet that they get from eating them starts to run out. The moodlet is called the Gummy Bear Guffaws. It says, it's hard not to feel silly with a belly full of gummy goodness, and that one lasts for 3 hours. And if our sim is still not feeling hysterical, there's one more thing that I can think of off the top of my head that's super easy to do. It's one that can only be achieved when our sim is feeling playful to begin with, and that is to make a silly face in the mirror. They'll receive the What a Silly Face moodlet from making a silly face, which says a funny face is always funny, even when it's your own, and lasts for only 2 hours. So because this one lasts for only 2 hours, I would recommend doing it last in your chain of events, because that one's going to expire so much quicker than the others. 2 sim hours goes by really, really quickly. And hopefully by now, after doing everything that I've just mentioned, your sim will finally be in a hysterical mood. That was the case for me anyway. So when our sim does enter the hysterical mood, it says that this sim is cracking up so much they're about to keel over. Try calming them down in the mirror, which we are definitely not going to do. As a matter of fact, I had to do all of the interactions that I've just mentioned over and over again for almost a sim day in order for her to actually die laughing. That one looks really creepy to me actually, like when she's gasping for air, she can't get the air and her face kind of stuck on this face. It looks kind of creepy to me actually. We did, of course, get the notification to say our sim is dying from laughter. I'm not trying to cause mass hysteria. Hysteria for one is hysteria enough. The literal embodiment of dying from embarrassment. Death by embarrassment is achieved by having our sim feel mortified for an extended period of time. The second of the 3 base game emotion-related deaths, death by embarrassment, has also happened to me accidentally and actually kind of inspired me to start this YouTube channel. Crazy, I know, but if you want to know that full story of what inspired me to start the 100 Baby Challenge here on YouTube, starting my channel, I'll write that story down in the pinned comment down below. So death by embarrassment or mortification is all about doing things and having very unfortunate situations occur for our sim that are going to make our sim feel embarrassed and ultimately mortified. This emotion-related death is also very tricky to achieve purposefully. There's not a whole lot of embarrassed moodlets that you can easily sort of come by, and they do sort of all expire in like 3 to 4 hours, so again, we're on that time limit. So I'm not gonna lie, I did cheat just a little bit for this one, just so I can show you what this death looks like. We'll talk more about that in a second. What we can easily achieve though is having our sim walk in on another sim who's using the toilet. Doing so will give our sim the cannot unsee moodlet, which lasts for 3 hours and says you walked in on something you were never meant to see. And then on the flip side, we can also easily have our sim's privacy invaded by having someone walk in on them while using the toilet, which will give our sim the privacy invaded moodlet, which also lasts for 3 hours and says sims don't like having someone walk in on them. Now, my friends, this is where I cheated, because I knew that another embarrassed moodlet that we could gain would be having our sim wet themselves, but because our sim had just gone to the toilet, she didn't need to wet herself. So I used the UI cheats mod to make our sim's bladder need go all the way down to the point where she would wet herself, which gave her the peed self moodlet for 4 hours, which says you had an accident from holding it for too long. How embarrassing. So after all of those moodlets we've gained, we can then maybe be a little bit bold with a sim that we don't have very much friendly relationship and no romantic relationship with. We can try to flirt with them. That social interaction should fail, which will give our sim the awkward encounter moodlet, which lasts for 3 hours and says, ugh, where can I hide? That was an awkward conversation. Now, if you do have a decent amount of romantic relationship with a sim, you could, while your sim is feeling embarrassed or very embarrassed, have them try to propose marriage. That is if they're not already married, of course, which will probably fail and will give your sim the rejected moodlet, which lasts for 6 hours and says, few things hurt more than being rejected by the sim you love. Unfortunately for us though, we were not at the point where we could do the propose. We were just at the low to no romantic social interactions. So we did only get the moodlet that lasted for 4 hours, not for 6 hours. But it was at this point that our sim finally became mortified, which tells us that this sim is so embarrassed they're ready to curl up and die, literally. Try a pep talk in the mirror or hide from everyone in bed for a bit. But thankfully, our sim was put out of her misery after 3 more failed flirty social interactions.
Benorf. Oh.
Oh, the poor thing, the way she literally does curl up in a ball for a second there. Right next to the puddle that came from her wetting herself. And of course, we were notified that our sim was dying from embarrassment. So you guys, honestly, the secondhand embarrassment from me watching all of these really unfortunate things happen for our sim was real. Yep, this is exactly what the fancy words sound like. A heart literally exploding. The last of the 3 base game emotion-related deaths, death by cardiac explosion, is achieved by having our sim become not just angry, but enraged for an extended period of time. Now, just like the other emotion-related deaths that I've mentioned, this one is also super tricky because we have the time limit of the interactions that give us the moodlets that we need to achieve the enraged mood to begin with, and they all expire. So this one is also really tricky. So to help out, I would recommend giving your sim the hot-headed trait. So the hot-headed personality trait says these sims tend to be angry, can rile up other sims, and become angry when targeted with mischief. So using a mixture of the mischief and mean interactions on this sim will start making our sim angry. They'll gain the aggravating conversation moodlet, which lasts for 6 hours, thankfully, and says feeling angry after an unpleasant conversation. So for this particular circumstance, I actually had both of our sims have the hot-headed trait because having the hot-headed trait gives you the option to do one specific interaction, which is the rile up interaction. So we're focusing on having our gentleman pass away this time, and I had our lady sim use the rile up interaction on our gentleman sim, which gained the riled up moodlet, which lasts for 4 hours and says, ugh, that hothead really knows how to push a sim's buttons. Now, also like the playful moodlet, when our sim feels angry, they can cook something that helps keep them feeling angry, that gives them a specific angry moodlet. In this case, our sim can cook angry flaming spaghetti once they've started feeling angry. So I do also recommend making a serving of 8 for this angry flaming spaghetti so that you can come back to it super easily if the moodlet that you get from it runs out. But just look at this spaghetti, right? So having our sim eat the angry flaming spaghetti will give our sim the on fire, metaphorically, moodlet, which lasts for 3 hours and says the literal heat of that dish raised our sim's metaphorical heat level. So after doing a lot of mean and mischief interactions between these two sims, I was able to have them be declared enemies, which was like the final step for us in having our sim be enraged. So having them be declared enemies gave our sim the a new enemy moodlet from being declared an enemy, which lasts for 4 hours and says making enemies with someone is bound to get the blood boiling. So once our sim became enraged, we were able to find out that this sim is so angry that they're about to explode. Try taking a cold shower or calming down in the mirror. And we did not in fact do any of that. We in fact did more mean and mischief interactions between these two sims until eventually...
Please don't.
Oh boy, I guess he just couldn't keep it in anymore. So of course we were notified that our sim was dying from a cardiac explosion, and you know, I guess he took all of those mischief and mean interactions to heart. You guys, I think I have found the easiest, lowest effort death to achieve in The Sims 4. And not just the base game, but The Sims 4 as a whole. Death by meteorite really packs a punch. It's as simple as getting the newer base game telescope, you know, the one that looks like a normal telescope, the back pocket observatory. And then we have our sim observe the sky. The rest is easy as pi, although I don't really think that pi is actually easy, like 3.141 something something something, I don't know, I guess I really didn't ever understand what that phrase truly meant. So after literally 1 hour of our sim observing the sky, our sim got the notification to say, uh-oh, our sim just noticed a meteor is heading right for her. She should seek shelter and quickly. She also felt not just scared, but terrified with the "it's coming right for me" moodlet, which lasts for 20 minutes and says, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a meteorite, and it's headed right for our sim. Run for cover. So literally we have 20 minutes for our sim to run for cover, run inside, get away from the meteorite. Otherwise our sim will be in the ultimate fight for life. Now, unfortunately for our sim, we decided to not only have her stay outside, but just continue observing the sky so she could literally observe her impending doom.
Give a row. Oh. Oh.
Oh no, cowering will not do you any favors, my love. I do apologize. And that honestly, a pretty small meteorite, although that being said, something like that coming at you with such force and speed, yes, would kill you, but I was expecting it to be a bigger meteorite. That's like my only qualm with this death, is that I thought it was going to be a bigger one. Anyway, it's fine. We were nicely notified with a rather comical notification about her death saying, Houston, we have a problem. Our sim is about to die from being struck by a meteorite. She was struck by a small meteorite. Sorry, that was cringe, but when I was writing the script, it just popped into my head and I really just couldn't resist. Our beloved little Sim Z in The Sims 4, the classic Laganaphalus simnivori, makes its grand return in The Sims 4 base game. And the cowplant berry used to grow the cowplant is even available as part of the gardening collection. So if you're looking to grow a cowplant, whether it's for your gardening collection or your grave collection, let me show you how to easily find the cowplant berry. You can of course find it in debug if you happen to know the debug cheats, but I generally have no issue finding the Cowplant berry at the Desert Bloom Park in Oasis Springs. Once loaded into the park, you're going to want to make your way to the very back of the park, past the pond, over the little stream, all the way back until you see the fishing sign in front of the rocky wall. Here you're able to fish for rare fish, and this is where I guaranteed always will find the Cowplant berry from fishing. Now if your sim has no fishing skill, it may take a few sim hours, but once your sim's able to start catching fish, they'll also have the opportunity to catch little treasure chests, and it's in one of those treasure chests that you'll find the Cowplant berry. So once you have the Cowplant berry in your inventory, you can head home, buy one of those big square planters, or you can just plant the Cowplant berry straight into the ground. Look how cute it is with its little horns sticking out of the ground. Oh my god, it's adorable. Now, I'm pretty sure it takes 2 full sim days for your Cowplants to fully grow. I'm pretty sure after 24 hours, the plant will reach its next stage of growth, where we'll see this cute little cow face thing. It's looking like a little cutie. And finally, 48 sim hours after planting your Cowplant, it will reach a full-sized Cowplant. Now you can interact with your Cowplant in many ways, from petting them, playing with them, naming them, and most importantly, feeding them. It is super important to feed your Cowplant. If you neglect little Sim Z or whatever you decide to change the Cowplant's name to, after 12 hours of not being fed, the Cowplant will spit out the most delectable, delicious looking piece of chocolate cake, ready for our sim to devour. Or so our sim thinks. If you're familiar with Laganaphalus simnivori, you know it's not our sim doing the devouring, it's our sim being devoured.
Oh, Yambala.
Luckily enough for our sim, the first time trying to attempt to eat the chocolate cake will not prove fatal, but it does give us a couple of things. Firstly, our sim can actually milk the udders on the Cowplant to receive the essence of life, which will give our sim a few extra days of life. We didn't worry about that though. What we worried about were the 2 moodlets that came from being devoured by the Cowplant. The first one is pretty obvious from looking at our sim. It's the filthy moodlet, which will last until our sim bathes and says, disgusted by poor hygiene, oh the stench. And the second, more important moodlet for our sim is the drained moodlet, which lasts for 2 days and says, feeling like an emotionless shell. Now this is important, okay? Because if we neglect our Cowplant for another 12 hours and our Cowplant spits out the chocolate cake again, and our sim tries to eat that chocolate cake while they still have the drained moodlet, well, let's just say they won't make it out alive this time. There we go, the satisfied belt to let us know that that's that for our sim, right? So we were of course notified of our sim's impending doom, reading, our sim is being devoured by a Cowplant. Will she make it out alive? Which, no, she won't. Didn't you hear me about 20 seconds ago? But with that being said, you guys, that's all I've got for this video of exploring death in the Sims 4 base game. Like I said, there's a whole 10 years worth of extra content through expansion packs, game packs, and stuff packs, and there are so many more deaths. I will eventually work my way through them all, but not this spooky season. I hope that you enjoyed this video of my foray into death, being the Grim Reaper for a day. It's always one of my favorite videos to make every single year. And with that being said, if you would like to see more of me, including more spooky season goodness, or any other Sims content that I've got coming your way, then hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell next to it to be notified of every time that I upload. And if you liked this video, let me know by hitting the like button down below and leave me a comment as well. Leave me the skull emoji to let me know that you got this far in the video, that you enjoyed watching all of these deaths in the Sims 4 base game, you're excited for eventually more Sims 4 deaths coming your way. But guys, I hope you're having the spookiest day ever, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!